Hello, everyone. Welcome to chapter 215 on my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. It is the weekly edition, and I ran into a problem at this last weekend's wood turning get together in my shop, and I'm going to solve it this afternoon. So, if you want to see what that was and what I'm going to do about it, you know what to do. All you need to do is stay tuned. Well, as I stated in the introduction, this last weekend we had kind of a turning get together out here. Over the course of the weekend, we had 13 people in the shop here, and I think that went really, really well. The idea behind this was, first of all, for the clubs, for the Hub City Turners and the Saskatchewan Woodworkers Guild, for those members that came, we only charged $20 for the weekend. And my hope with doing that was basically to cover the cost of running my Keurig and the pop in the fridge and little things like the blue paper towel, the shop towel, the toilet paper, whatever, just covering some of those basic expenses. But people brought their own wood as much as possible. They brought their own tools. I think there were a couple people that used some of mine and possibly some of Trent's tools. I didn't have to keep track of any of that, which was wonderful. This way, though, that those club members maybe got a little bit of value or a little bit of payback for joining either of the clubs, and I think that's important. I think if guilds and clubs need to grow, people need to see value in what they're doing. So we tried. It was a great time. We had, like I said, 13 people. Things went really well. Yeah, I hosted it, but Trent Watts did all the legwork for this. People got in touch with him, which really worked well for me because I've been very busy and I find that I'm not a good communicator when it comes to sending texts and organizing things on a list and getting people to the right place at the right time. He took care of all of that. Thank you very much, Trent. I really appreciated that. I've worked together with Trent here for a number of classes in this shop, and it's always a joy. So we can continue this in the future. I'm all for it. But anyway, I ran into a problem this weekend. So I'm 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 at my lathe. Oh, by the way, I did turn this little pine bowl because I was working on a lathe during this, especially Saturday. I have one little Delta lathe that I consider the runt of the litter of what I have. It just isn't set right, doesn't work quite right. It's had a traumatic existence. I bought it from a fellow who said it fell off the truck and it broke. And yeah, there's welds for the casting and things aren't quite the way they should be. But I got it working really good. And during the course of making it work, I turned this pine bowl. Now, this pine bowl, I don't usually like turning pine, but it's a core from a larger bowl that I turned for my pine supplier of 30 years when I retired from teaching in the public system. Now I still go back there to buy pine. I just don't buy quite as much. But anyway, so I turned this bowl, and at the end, I decided we should get everybody to sign it. So everybody signed it, and the people who weren't here, we just got somebody to sign their name on Sunday so that we had a record of everybody that was here. So I'm not sure what's going to happen with this bowl yet, but we'll see what happens. Anyway, it's here. But anyway, as I was saying, ran into a problem. So yes, I'm at my little lathe there working away, and all of a sudden I hear this bang, and I look around, and what had happened is I had my student riser kit, my little block that I use, or little platform that I use to raise turners and raise people cutting on the bandsaw and all that stuff. And I'd had my cutting forms, my bowl cutting forms, very precariously perched on them, using every flat surface in my shop. And these things, and there's a few more here, these things have kind of become the bane of my existence in my shop. I just don't have a place to put them. Now, if you're not familiar with bowl turning, you may not realize what these things actually are. So let's say I'm cutting up bowl blanks with my chainsaw and bandsaw, and I have obviously you can see this has been a tree at one time, like all our wood is, and you need to be able to cut it round on the bandsaw. It makes it a lot easier to turn later. Excuse me. So this one I've obviously already cut, but the way I would have cut this is I would have taken this form, this is 6.5 inches, and I would have taken a screw, a short screw, and just put it in, tacked it in place. And then I would go to the bandsaw and kind of rub the blade along the form, and that would give me my circle. So I think I've shown this before in another video, but I'm getting, like I say, 215 videos. The memory ain't so good anymore as to what I shot when. So hopefully you don't start getting repeats eventually. But so anyway, that's what they're for. But I have a stack of them. I'm just going to put this away. My stack, I have from 5.5 inches in 1/2 inch increments to 12. And then I have in 1 inch increments to 16. So the biggest one would be a 16-inch bowl, which is quite large. Not at the capacity of this lathe yet, but quite large. So with them falling on the floor, first of all, it got my attention, that's for sure. I think it kind of made the person who bumped it feel bad, but that's a situation that should never occur in your shop. Things should not be precariously perched on something and they're there but others don't. So this is something I need to fix. So I came up with, I think, a fairly neat solution again for this. Ooh, excuse me. And you can see by I'm wearing my Lincoln welding jacket that this is another one of those woodworking welding projects. So without any further ado, I'm going to show you exactly what I'm going to do to store these safely and efficiently. Let's get into it. Well, I try to walk a couple miles every morning. Obviously, when we do turning events, I don't those days, but every other day I try to. And I find that when I walk, I think it's replaced my staff meeting attendance from when I taught. Okay. So what I came up with this idea. I thought I'd take some flat metal, and unfortunately, I'd like to have 1/8 inch. This is 16th, same thickness that my scroll saw stands are, but I think it's going to work. So then what I did is I took and cut a groove in each pattern, about the width of the marker. That way you can still put a small screw in the center. I thought of making this hole bigger and then just sliding them on, like taking a piece of rebar or say 3/8 rod and then sliding it on. But that way I came up with a number of real problems with that. But I decided on this, and then I took a piece of that 16th inch. It's about 30 inches long here. I only need about 5 inches of it, maybe even a little less. But I put it in a vise, and I think I have about 5 inches protruding now. And what I like about this is I can just slide my forms, my cutting forms onto there, and it keeps them in order. And here I'm just going to bore you with putting them on. I haven't cut the 12-inch one yet because I thought I'd show you how I cut that, and I set that one aside. But yeah, and they just go on there like that. They slide on. And I'm sorry this takes a little while, but I promise you it's worth it in the end. And you just keep going. Now, when they're pushed tight, They don't take a lot of space. I think in total, the height of this whole stack is somewhere around 4 or 4.5 inches. But when you and I'll show you this in just a second. I'm getting so close. I don't know if you can see this, but I wrote a number on the top, and these things will always index the same way. So that number will always stay at the top. So I can quite quickly um, tell which is which. Now, what's going to happen when I weld this all together is this washer's going to go on the end like that, so they can't fall off. But what transforms this from just a way to get these off the floor to making this cool, in my opinion, is this. Watch this. So let's say I want the 10-inch circle. So what I can do, remember there's a washer on the end. I find the 10. I can slide these ahead and I can get it out. I didn't have to take all of them off, set them on the floor or on the table, use the one I wanted, and then put them all back. When I want to put it back, I can leave this open. I can put it on like that and push them back, and we're good. It's all cleaned up. It stays cleaned up all the time, which is what I love about this design. Now, I'm going to weld this together because that's what I do. I'm very much a person that woodworking is wonderful. You can make all kinds of great things out of wood, but there comes a time and a place where you need to build things out of steel. And in my opinion, for my shop, I'm going to make this out of metal. It's going to have this plate on the back. It's left over from some other project I made. And it's going to get sheet metal screwed onto a toolbox that I have mounted where I have my outfeed support for my 14-inch bandsaw. It kind of holds that up. So it's going to go on there. And that way, everything's, I think, going to be out of the way. And if it isn't, I'll move it. But for now, that's where it's going to live. So it's got this on the back, about 5 inches of this. We'll weld this on the front. We'll paint it all red so it matches the toolbox. And I think I'll have a really, really nice way to store and organize these. The point I was going to make before I started rambling on and on about other things is yes, you could easily make this out of wood. I think what would need to happen if you made it out of wood, this would have to be wider. But even cutting a 3/8 inch slot in this, or even half-inch, wouldn't negatively affect the use of this on the bandsaw at all. At least I don't think it would. But because this isn't super precise cutting, this is just getting your blank round. So anyway, I'm going to show you how I'm going to do this. And I think we're going to start by showing you how I cut the groove. By showing you how I cut the groove. And for that, we need to head back to my 14-inch bandsaw. So I'll meet you over there. Okay, well, here's the 12-inch form. Oh, I didn't even put a 12 on there. What was I thinking? Oh, I know why I didn't, because I hadn't cut it yet. Okay, what I did is I took my centering square and I just lined it up on here as best I could and ran it. See if you can see that here. And just ran it to the middle like that. Oops, let's get you in the picture here. And then I took a felt tip marker and just drew a line like that till center. Now the marker makes a line about 1/8 of an inch wide. I tried to cut just one cut, but it wouldn't slide on the metal piece properly. So what I do is I just cut on both sides of the marker line. So let's do that quickly. That doesn't take very long. And that's that. So we have a nice groove It really won't affect the cutting at all. It's going to be great. Well, in the end, I decided to make it 5.5 inches, and we're just going to mark that. This end I already checked. It's square. Actually, now I can see it's sheared, so it's good. We'll go 5.5 inches, and then we'll take a square and we'll square that. Not the best way to do it. This square with this edge on is a little bit of a problem, but it's going to work just fine. There we go. So that's that. So now I've got a little bit of cutting to do with, and I'm just going to use a cutting disc, or sometimes I call them zip discs. And I'm just going to use that with the angle grinder. I have a 4.5 inch angle grinder, which you've seen before. And I don't know if that's going to work all that well. I think that's going to come out of there. Actually, we're just going to cut it freehand. Hopefully you guys can see all that. And while we're at it, we're going to trim the backing plate square as well. So here we go. We're going to do some cutting. There we go. That's one. I wished I would have had steel this thick for this. Like this 1/8 inch would be better, but I just didn't have it. So I ended up with the 16th. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be great, but I think it would be better if it was thicker, just a tad thicker. Ah, that's better. Okay, so that's all the cutting out of the way. I think I'm going to get the flap disc out and give them, just touch up the edges a bit, but I don't think you need to see that. That goes pretty quick. So we're going to get organized here, and we're going to come back when we're sticking it together with the MIG. Be right back. Well, I've got the welding gear on and we're getting ready to go here. What I did is I ground the plating off the back of the washer and ground the edges so that we're through the mill scale on everything. I'm using one of my little welding magnets to hold it at a 90-degree angle so that I can weld this. Now, I am working on my wooden table, which last I checked, wood didn't ground very well. However, I've got this piece of sheet metal on here and a ground clamp hooked up to it, and that seems to do the job. Now, we're not doing a lot of welding today, so it's just a little bit, and it is a little later in the day than I like to be welding, but I think this little bit I'll get away with, I hope anyway. I have my air cleaner running because the smoke from welding sometimes sets off my smoke detector, which isn't pleasant. So I welded like this before, it's worked, but you wouldn't want to weld a lot like this. So here we go. Just get the gloves on. I should have done this before. I should have been ready. Oh well. Can't operate my camera with the gloves. So, all right, here we go. And I just want to put a little bead in there, a little bead in there, and then we'll go through the other side. Okay, here we go. That's actually not bad. Okay, I'm going to go to the other side now. Not going to try to wiggle it yet because I'm not sure how much I penetrated into the washer. So I need to get a little more heat there on this side. Oops. Yeah, this isn't necessarily the best setup. Here we go again. There we go. That's not good for the eyes. But I dug into the washer a little bit more that time, and we're going to do the same here again on the other side. I think that's going to work. But now I'm going to build up the other side a little bit because I've got more weld there. I can put more heat into it now. So here we go again. Oh, I like that. We're going to do that here too. I can live with that. We'll polish it up and away we go. Okay, now got to get the back plate on and we'll get that done and I'll bring you back when I'm welding that. Okay, I think I have it all set up. All the grinding's done. I have it where I want it, oriented on the plate here. This will be a little harder to weld because this 16th doesn't take a lot of heat and I need to get more heat into the 1/8 inch. So I'm going to be welding more on the 1/8 than on the 16th. But like I have trouble setting up positions for you guys to see. Well, I tell you, I'm going to have to get a serious look into my welding helmet, my shades, and everything because I'm having trouble seeing what I'm doing. And we can't have that. You can't weld good if you can't see. So I'm just going to cut a little bit of wire off here, get the right amount of stick out, and away we go. Hi, hi, you'd almost think I was a welder. That looks darn good. Hi, I can't believe it. And I did exactly what I said I'd do. I carried more heat into the thicker plate, which is just a little bit of a welding trick. So we're going to spin it around and see if I can get lucky twice. Nope, we got to trim the wire again. It's important to have about a 1/2 inch of stick out. Okay, here we go. We're going to try this again, see if I can do this again. Well, I haven't done welds that I've been proud of for a long time, but pat myself on the back. I'm happy with this. Nobody will ever see it, but that's okay. So I'm going to cool things off and bring you back when I'm getting ready to paint it. Okay, we'll be back in a bit. Well, off camera, I just cleaned this up just a little bit. There's a little bit of weld spatter on it. Not bad, just a little bit of work with flap disc and the 4.5 inch angle grinder. So now, yeah, I should be priming it, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to give this a little bit of paint here. Try to make sure that I don't put heavy coats on. Okay. Um, I'm going to come back and give it another coat, but I'm going to let it dry a little bit. It's pretty basic now, so we'll see how much I show you yet. Well, off camera, I flipped it over. I did a coat on the back side. Not that that's particularly helpful, but I'm just going to give it another light coat here. I'm not after a pristine finish on this because you won't really see any of it, but I'm just going to lightly spray it, maybe concentrate on trying to get that end nice because that you might see. But here we go. I think that's looking pretty good. Another problem I have in here is spraying things. I really need to set up a better way of doing this, but for this, it's going to work. Okay, that's going to be good. Now I'm going to let this dry, and then the next thing I'll show you is mounting it onto the tool chest that I'm planning to store it on, and we'll put the pieces on it, and we'll be done. Okay, we'll be back in a bit. Well, there it is. The paint's all dry. It's after supper time now, so I let the paint dry for a couple hours. Went out and shoveled the snow out of my trailer and trying to get all my burl out of there. It's supposed to get really, really nice this week, and I don't want that to get all waterlogged. So anyway, we're back to this now. The plan is we're going to mount it right there. So I'm going to just take my drill and drill a pilot hole. There we go. And I'm using 10 by 3/4 inch screws. These are self-tapping. This hole is just big enough to get it started. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put one screw in, and I had this thing the right way, and I marked out one hole, this one here. Okay, that didn't sound as good as I'd hoped it would. Now I should have a tape measure here. Actually, I'm going to use this. That's what happens when you want to quickly finish something off. And there's a magnet there. Then when you're in a hurry to get things done, you forget to get everything that you need. Yeah, I did it again. Okay, well, there we go. I think that's good. Okay, we're going to screw it on right there. Oops, that moved just a little bit. Moved again. There we go. These screws are going to get changed eventually. I don't have the right screws here. What I need are screws. Sorry, not screws. What I need are machine screws. If I had a round head 3/16 inch machine thread that I could put a nut on from the inside, because this goes into my drawer space and I don't want to get scratched up or hurt just getting my stuff out. Well, that looks good. We're just going to screw it on. Can hardly wait to get these things up here. I have kicked these things around my shop. Yeah, they're not quite grabbing the way I'd like them to, but I think it's going to hold. And like I said, these are going to get changed. Oh yeah, that's plenty. Well, okay, now this was the one I was worried about. This one's pretty big. See, that'll work under there. I think that's going to work really, really quite well. And you know what? I'm just going to go get the others. I'll be right back and we'll put them on. Got to clean up a little bit first, though. There we go. And here we go. We'll just start dropping them on one at a time. Like I said already, these things were the bane of my existence for a while. I couldn't seem to set them anywhere where they weren't in the way. And then you had to sweep around them and clean around them when I had them on the floor. And then I had um, my step for I use for shorter students, and I had that standing on end, and it was under here. And then somebody, I think, just walked by and knocked them off, and then we had all kinds of noise, and you know, and I don't know. This is just. I'm glad I thought of this on my morning walk. I think this is a really, really good way of doing this. I'm pleased with this. And the thing I like about it is the fact that there's enough room to get these things out. There we go. So like if I want to take the 7.5 or the 8-inch one out, I just tip it over, take the 8-inch one out. Look at that, the space stays there. So I cutting on my bandsaw, happier than a clam. And when I'm done, when I'm done, voila, drops back on, I push it back, and away it goes. Now, this toolbox I have under here, right now I'm planning to leave it here. I need to work some more on this, on my bandsaw table here. I don't know if you can see it in the video, but it's not level. It's sloping uphill a little bit. And then this is just sitting on there. I haven't done this properly yet, but it's worked, unfortunately, and then I leave it. So this is going to stay under here. I've slid it all the way that way that I can, and I think it's going to clear nicely walking here. So I would take this as a win. You know what? Let's close this video off. Well, that brings chapter 215 to a close. I'm really, really happy with that jig that I built. It is going to make organizing my shop just a little bit easier, which is really, really important. It also, and I'm finding with having other adults in my shop, that they usually are used to kind of finding things on their own. And the question I get asked the very most at any one of the functions, that whether it's just a fun weekend like we had last weekend, or a class like is coming up this coming weekend, is, do you have this? Where's this? And I'm going to have to get to the point where I know my shop inside and out. And if we're ever prepping material now, or cutting up logs into blanks to turn, they want to know where my forms are, I can say right there. You know, it's easy, you point, it's so self-explanatory to know how to use that thing. It's very good. I wish all the jigs I made were that intuitive. Like, it's just easy to use. Yeah, I can't stress enough the importance of getting that morning walk. I do some of my best thinking there, and like I said, it's replaced the staff meeting as the creative impetus for what I do. But so anyway, yeah, that's it. I'm glad I got that done. One thing you may have noticed, I've done it for a few videos now. I've been putting my microphone on my glasses, and that seems to help. But you know, I'm still having trouble getting these videos loud enough, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing wrong. I'm maxing out the volume on everything, so I'm not sure. But when I put it on my TV in the shop, I gotta crank the volume up higher than I need to for some of the other videos that I watch. And that's probably been in the last 30 chapters that I've noticed that. I think maybe since I got the new microphone stuff. So I'll keep working on that, and if you could watching and liking and subscribing. That would be wonderful. Yeah, this coming weekend, I think we have 5 people signed up for the class, so that'll be good. And eventually, I'm going to finish that towel cabinet that's been sitting on my table saw center there for a while now. And I've got a little bit of trim to paint in the house yet, and then that hallway renovation is completely done. So yeah, it just takes time. But anyway, remember, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll come up with something else for the weekend edition. See you then.